I don't know when the thing cut off, but yeah, it cut off at some point. So I just pick it up right back. I was talking straight through that, but essentially what I wanted to share with you guys was a message that came to me this morning, which is you don't have to adhere to nonsense in life that comes from people or circumstances that are meant to dull your senses and your connection with God. If you know God is in your life, then you don't feel hopeless or as if it's no use in being a good person when bad things happen or when bad people do bad things or what have you. Your purpose is to not waver if you're a believer in those circumstances. Our purpose is to make you waver so that you can then be one more evil converter, so to speak, of human beings, making people feel hopeless, making people feel worse, making it so that God can't connect with others by way of the things that you do to them and make them feel hopeless so they feel like it's useless to be a good person. That's essentially what it came to me this morning, is to not waver. And you look at people going through difficulties and they display strong faith. They may be weary. They may need their village to continue to help reinforce their confidence in their strength. But at the end of the day, if you have that relationship with God, you have that relationship with the faith that you believe in, and you understand that there's going to be always things that try to deter you from believing. It's always going to be something someone is going to try to let you down or bring you down in whatever way they will, because that's the enemy looking to convert you into being one of those people for somebody else who needs to be able to be strong in the presence of adversity. You know, the whole point is to convert people one way or another. God's trying to convert people into being faithful and strong in the presence of hard times, and the enemy's trying to turn you into being hopeless and ultimately useful to him and his intentions of converting people to be hopeless and useless. And so as we continue to believe in God in whatever way we do, whatever your walk of faith is, you understand that there's always going to be something thrown in your life, in your way, try to make you worse. There's always going to be somebody or something that'll let you down or put you in a position to feel like it ain't no use in being a good person. It ain't no use in being honorable. It ain't no, that kind of thing. It's always going to be something thrown in your way to make you lose faith. But your faith unwavering can make you just as useful to God in being an example to others of how not to lose faith. So to always understand that it's a war out here, spiritually. It's a war for souls, man. God wants your soul and the enemy wants your soul. So anything that's thrown in your way that's supposed to take your faith and make you worldly, or take your faith and make you not want to be a good person, or take what it is that your frustrations are and just turn you towards sin. If it's meant to do that, chances are the only reason why it is meant to do that is to turn you into someone who does the same thing to somebody else. And so that's what I took from this morning's message, along with Romans 5:1-5. In the last video, I was talking about that before it cut off at whatever point, for which I have no idea at this point when it cut off, but I'm sure if you watch it, you'll know when. But the point was, those are the two strong messages that came my way. Don't let people waver your faith. You know what I was telling my friend Kay this morning in regards to a message I sent her was, your conscience is much louder when you are working against turning towards sin. The more, it's just like any practice, you get stronger, just like any muscle that you strengthen. If you're walking in a pure way away from sin, if you're doing the best you can to be the best human being you can be, it gets easier to hear that conscience in your head. It gets easier to know what God wants you to do. It gets easier to hear his voice, so to speak. It's easier for him to connect with you the more pure you choose to be. But as long as you're looking to be worldly, to lash out and get your pound of flesh on the world, to react to every negative thing that comes your way in a negative way, as long as that's how you're moving, it's harder for God, it's harder for your conscience, it's harder for that wisdom within you to help you make good decisions. It's harder for that for which makes you best to really manifest within you, if you're not intent on practicing and strengthening that aspect of your personality, that aspect of your walk with life and walk with Christ, if that's your faith, and walk with Allah or whatever it is that you believe in. It's easier for him to connect with you when you turn away from the things he tells you not to do. It's easier for him to help you through your life. He's going to always have your back, and all these different things are going to always be true. But as far as your perception of such, it requires some effort from you. That's essentially what it is. That's what the message was this morning. It requires some effort from you to not only believe in God, but to obey him to the best of your ability. Turn away from sin, or turn away from whatever you can. We're all sinners. We're all going to struggle in that way. We're not looking to be a perfect being or pitch a perfect game every time we play, but the understanding is that's the measure. The goal is to be the best you can, and when you fall short, forgive yourself, get back on track, and keep going again, because at the end of the day, we are sinners. But the point is to try your best to, within every time you get, to be knowledgeable of yourself, and self-conscious of, or self-aware. As long as you hold self-awareness to what it is that you should not do in that way, spiritually, what you should not be doing toward others, what you should not be doing, stealing and messing around in whatever way you shouldn't. As long as you're conscious of what those things are, and you're making intentions and strengthening yourself and staying away from those things, it's going to be easier and easier for the Most High to connect with you and help you perceive his presence in your life and in your inner mind, in your conscience. I hope I'm able to express that properly. And as you continue to make steps toward being more pure, or steps toward being less sinful, or steps toward being a better human, you will see the enemy try to come in your way and knock you off of that for which you're standing on. You're going to see inner demons come out, and urges and things of that nature, whatever your specific DNA would be. You're going to see circumstances where people are going to not believe in you and talk down on your process, or try to make it seem like whatever you're doing in regards to being better, you should be outcasted for, or whatever type of deterrent the enemy can throw at you, you will see. Whatever type of nonsense that would otherwise, for not your intentions on being pure, that would turn you to sin, those things are going to come. But just the same as you strengthen, so should your ability to stay away from those things. So should your ability to hear the Lord weighed against those voices and those circumstances. You will see the Lord's presence weighed against those deterrents. And so that's what I'm here to say, man. Those are the messages that have been coming my way, man. Keep striving to be as good of a human being as you can intend to be. That's the best thing I can say. As good as a human being as you intend to be. It's not easy. This is a world that is worldly. We got the flesh to consider, cultures to consider around us, our own personal family members and friends, whoever may be in your life, and whatever they pushing towards you, or whatever it is they hold you responsible for. Sometimes people be walking in things they have no business walking in, and as a result they end up sending other people in that direction. It's hard to live pure in this world. This thing don't come with no handbook. But the better you get at it, the louder the Lord's voice is going to be in your head. The more easy it is to obey him, the more you practice at it, the better you will handle circumstances as they come your way that are really meant to knock you off your square, that are really meant to make you a worse human being, that are really meant to end your life or deter your life. You know what I mean? It gets easier to hear God's voice when you hit those pivotal moments in life where it could go either way, where it's life or death, whether it's, if you make the wrong decision, it's going to affect somebody else's life forever type stuff. It gets easier to hear his voice in those moments if you handle the discipline of being pure in moments where you're being only mildly tested or moderately tested. You see what I'm saying? Sometimes we make decisions and it has bad consequences. Sometimes we make certain decisions and it has deadly consequences. Sometimes we make certain decisions and it has consequences on our future forever. Other times we just bump our head, get back up, and dust them off. What I'm telling you is, the more disciplined you stay in Christ, believing in whatever it is you believe in. I don't want to limit it to Christ for those who want to hear me in a different way. But the more disciplined you stay in obeying what you know is right, the louder your conscience will become in circumstances like that. The more enhanced your intuition will be when those moments that are most pivotal come to pass. Because if you are on a low frequency when those moments hit, and there are a lot of people who can already attest to this, your life will be changed forever in ways that you cannot undo, in ways that the Lord will not undo. He wants you to get it right the first time. And the only way you're going to do that is if you're strong enough when those moments happen to hear his voice. I cannot stress this enough. Because sometimes stuff don't be that bad. You can do the same thing one way and it have no consequence negatively whatsoever. You do that same thing another day and it could end your life. And what I'm saying is, the stronger you are at being the best person you can be will likely determine, and to the best of my understanding, will likely determine how well you're able to navigate around or through those most pivotal moments, including when something goes wrong in tragic situations. A lot of times we end up traumatized and most deterred and get knocked off our square in such a way where we end up spiraling forever. Those are the moments where if we were more pure in our way of living, we would handle those better and not spiral. But since we're not living right, when those moments hit, we spiral. And that is what I've come to meditate and understand. This is the truth. This is what they ain't going to teach us in the music. This is what they ain't going to teach us in life. But I'm telling you, the closer you get to being your best self, the better you'll be in handling those moments that you will need to be able to manage when it's time for life to either go really good for you or really bad because of a decision you make. Sometimes we make bad decisions. It costs other people. We end up having worse reputations for the rest of our lives because of stuff that we did sheepishly that affect other people dramatically. You need your conscience and you need that relationship with God to be strong when that moment hits. You need that. And this is how you get it. By being who you need to be leading up to those moments. By having that part of your body and your mind and your consciousness strong when those days come around. If you stay ready, you ain't gotta get ready. And that is exactly what I'm saying to you spiritually. That's exactly what I'm saying the Lord gave to me this morning. We don't have to pitch a perfect game, but we do have to, while we're able to, if you know, hey, yo, I shouldn't do this and I can stop and do something else instead of moving in this sinful way. If I can manage to understand, yo, yeah, I feel like doing something I ain't got no business doing, but yeah, maybe it's probably for the betterment of me later, by way of what it is we just have to be talking about, to just not do this. Because one day I'm going to try doing this and it's going to be a pivotal thing. One day it's going to be, I ain't going to think nothing of it and it's going to have the worst consequences. And sometimes that's not as easy to see as wisdom would provide. What I mean by that is, sometimes we be sinning and our wisdom tells us we shouldn't do certain things, but you can still get away with it because it ain't the worst thing in the world. Maybe, for example, maybe your mama told you not to eat something out the cupboard. Now you know she ain't gonna beat you to death for doing so. And you also know she's gonna be disappointed if you do it. What you do not know is that particular thing you about to grab out of the cupboard is gonna make you sick. Now, wisdom tells you if you're managing and measuring how much you're gonna take on, is the risk is worth it, because you want what is in that cupboard. It's gonna taste good. And most of the time, if not damn near all of the time, except for this time, it's not gonna make you sick. You understand what I'm saying? That donut ain't gonna make you sick. It never does. Except this time it will. The wisdom ain't showing you that. The wisdom's telling you the worst thing that's gonna happen is she gonna get angry, and you can live with that for whatever reason. But what you can't live with is yourself getting sick. What you're not measuring within what could go wrong in being disobedient to your mama is how sick you're going to feel, and how bad that stomach ache is gonna hurt. And how much throwing up you're gonna actually do. Because that ain't in the wisdom of what it is you're measuring. That ain't what you can see is coming for what it is you do. Now I can see if your mama is the type of person that's gonna beat you 7 days in a row, you know what I mean, for eating out of that cupboard. Chances are you ain't gonna eat out of that cupboard. But if the wisdom tells you that you ain't gonna get nothing like that, then maybe it's just mild consequences for being disobedient. Now that don't mean being disobedient is gonna provide you those type of consequences when you do it elsewhere. Just because your mom's kind on you and nice on you and has a soft spot for your behavior does not mean that the world will. This is why they say spare the rod, spoil the child. In a sense, if you don't discipline your child, the world will discipline them for being spoiled, because the world don't work the way that maybe your household do. So it's important that you keep that balance. But just the same, you got to know that the world will discipline you for doing things the wrong way. Whether your mama spanked you for 7 days in a row for what you did, or just was mildly unhappy, and you can live with those consequences of that. The point that I want to make is, if you discipline yourself to obey your mother when she tells you not to go into the cupboard, then you're more likely to be strong enough to discipline yourself against things that are ultimately going to be in the same vein in a different light. Breaking the rules out in the world and getting yourself locked up for 7 years. Wisdom don't tell you that if you only going by the measure of mama, because you used to her letting you get away with every damn thing. But the world ain't gonna let you get away with none of that. They're gonna beat you for 7 days. They're gonna beat you for 14 days in a row. They're gonna put you away. You understand what I'm saying? And some of us who've been raised a certain way think that the wisdom that we have from what it is that we've gone through are gonna measure us properly for what it is the consequences will be for our actions and our disobedience and our sin. Wrong. And I hope that's what I've been able to illustrate for you in this video. So that's really what I gotta say, man. I don't know why that other video cut off, or at what point that video cut off, but I picked up right where it left off. Essentially, the Lord's been giving me messages these last couple of days, and I struggle. I'm not gonna sit up here and say that I'm always pure, but the notion that I should be is in place. And because I've worked on it, it's easier for me to turn away from sin in ways that in the past it wasn't. You know, when you're doing something you ain't got no business doing, and you hear yourself in your voice, that voice in your head say it's not too late, you can turn back from this. The ability to turn back from this, for which you should not do, gets stronger. Your ability to say, yeah, you're right, let me turn away, that gets stronger the more you apply yourself in that way. The more you turn yourself away from sin, the easier it is to get away from sin. And the devil gonna turn the difficulty up, but the Lord is gonna make it so that you're strong enough to deal with that. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm here to say to everybody, man. Don't be afraid of that difficulty turning up if the strength that you are acquiring is providing you the ability to deal. Don't expect things to continue to be easy just because you're getting stronger. It will get harder as you get stronger, but as you get stronger, you will deal with that more difficult circumstance the way that you otherwise would, and they're gonna turn up the difficulty on you anyway, whether you get strong or not. That's the point. It ain't like it's gonna keep staying this way. So that's what I'm here to tell everybody, man. Believe in your ability to be a good person, and that it holds some value. Believe